Smith, hoping that this round is light on the technical difficulties and we're able to connect to our host in time. So, as I wait for Namadi and Jeide to join me, and hopefully they can, be up on the screen without any interruptions, Instagram, we can have this beautiful episode that we're guaranteed to have. So tonight's topic is monkey branching. What is monkey branching, you ask? I'm glad you did, because we're going to get into it. Oh, yes, I see one of my co-hosts are up in here right now. So I'm just waiting on Jeide to join in as well. Oh, this didn't even accept you in. Now, Instagram, make it possible. Make it possible. There we go. Namadi, how you doing
Hello.
today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm feeling the vibes. I'm feeling positive and whatnot on this Sunday night.
That's good.
How you doing today?
Oh, I'm feeling tired. I feel a little like womp womp,
Oh,
but I'm
why?
hoping I'll be re-energized with this conversation.
Lazy Sunday vibes.
Yeah,
Nothing
just
wrong with
chilling.
it.
I think it's because I have to go back to work tomorrow, and I've been on vacation for 2 weeks, so like
Yeah.
I'm
That's the
not looking
toughest
forward
day
to
to that's the toughest work day. The toughest work days are always the day before vacation and the day back from vacation. It's just like,
it.
why am I here? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Especially because I'm gearing up to make some big decisions regarding work. And so I'm like, in this place where I'm kind of freaking out. It's like I know that I think I know the right decision, but it still is freaking me out because I don't usually like make leaps without solid grounding. Like I've never even moved without having a job lined up for me, like a solid job lined up from state to state. So to think about like being like, oh, I'm just gonna let it go and work for myself, even though I don't have like a solid background yet, is freaking me out. But I also feel like if I don't push myself, I'm not going to do it because I keep having my work as my fallback, so I don't really have to take the leap. Like I make enough money on the side, but don't really have to like cover my life because my job covers my life. But I feel like if I lose that, then it'll force me to like go after what I know that I'm ready to go after. I'm just a chicken.
yeah, I mean, be like that. The things that scare us the most are normally the most beneficial and most rewarding things in our lives. So
Yeah.
definitely take that leap of faith. Definitely take that leap of faith. Well, trust your gut,
Yeah.
You feeling there in your gut for a reason.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Nah,
It'll
nah,
be
I'm hoping to see this in fruition. I'm hoping
It'll be
in a
it'll be
couple
good. And
months.
the thing is, I've been working towards it. It's not like, oh, I just up and decided I was going to quit my job. Like I've been on like a solid like 5, 10 year like I've been on a plan, and I'm working that plan as I meant to and as it's supposed to be. So everything's on track. It's just still like, oh God, I don't know if I can do this.
Oh, see, trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. You already put the work in. Now you just gotta trust what you're already investing into. Like that's the hardest part. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
So how are you? How was your
I'm
birthday?
uh, who birthday?
Someone mentioned your birthday. Didn't you have yours recently?
In February.
Your
Who said
birthday's in
my?
February?
Yeah. But, oh no, it said, "Oh sis, that's hard. I hope you enjoyed your birthday." Yeah. Who? I think they talking to you, Namadi. I think they thought today was your birthday.
Oh no, my birthday is October. I'm a Libra. But
Oh, okay.
yours is the
Yeah.
end of February?
Yeah, see, me and Jetty, we right back to back from each other. So I'm the 23rd, he the 22nd. We're the Pisces boys. But yeah,
Word. I like Pisces. I don't even mean to because like I like signs. I kind of follow them, but like also not really. Like I'm not like a horoscope, daily horoscope, but I do think that like there is a level of like nature versus nurture as far as our personalities. So like I like knowing people's signs and stuff. But I do find it interesting that a large core of my friend groups are Pisces. Just by accident. They just happen like I just vibe well with Pisces, and then Sagittarius are my good time buddies.
yeah. But I mean, the Libras and Pisces are known to be like, and to harmonize well with each other. Right? We're supposed to flow with each other pretty well.
I believe it. Good times. Hey, Jen.
Nimade, what's going on with you?
Not much. How are you?
Ain't no complaints. IG was hating on me. They kicked me off a couple times. We just gonna jump into the conversation, and hopefully they keep me on long enough for us to have a fruitful one.
Oh no, it seemed like it's flowing pretty well now. Like I was a little concerned about that. Like they was giving us some hiccups to start the episode. But I did want you to share the news with everybody now that we got a full room.
Keep it rolling. Keep it going. Keep it going. I ain't trying to jinx this shit. Keep it going. Let's get to the conversation. I'll DM you. I'll DM you.
Okay.
Like, I tried it twice and it
got it.
Like I don't know what's going on with IG. They tainting the water supplies. They might have parasites going through the internets. I don't know what the fuck going on. So we just gonna get with the conversation.
Sounds good to me.
So guys, tonight we're discussing monkey branching, you know. And for those that are unaware of what monkey branching exactly is, monkey branching is defined by the term of jumping from holding on to one person within a relationship until you find a more suitable or a better partner to attach yourself to, you know. I actually was inspired by this topic because I was listening to a couple podcasts. I was in like my relationship podcast listening bag the other day, and this term kept jumping out to me, monkey branching. I was just like, what the fuck is monkey branching? And like when I first heard it, it was like this white podcaster. She was going on talking about it. So I thought she was on some racy type stuff at first. So I was just like, like let me tune into this because I feel like being irritated a little bit. Let me. And when she got into the details of what it was, I got irritated, but I got irritated for other reasons because as she was explaining monkey branching, I started sitting back to myself and I was like thinking to myself, like, damn, I've been monkey branched before. Like, and I recall at the time vividly, and even like as she was explaining like some of the details that a person that's monkey branching would do to their mate, I was sitting there thinking, yeah, that happened to me. This situation happened to me. So it just motivated me to be like, you know what, let me just bring this to the forefront to see like how many other people have been monkey branch and how you would go about, you know, handling the situation if you're a monkey branch or if you're a monkey branching a person, you know, what's the mindset. So with that, I'm opening up to you guys. How do you feel about monkey branching in general, you know?
Well, I have a question about it.
Okay.
Because I looked it up and I was looking at it and I'm like, well, I wonder how many people purposely monkey branch, as in they purposely hold on to their partner until they get a new one, or how many people are just incapable of being alone, so they stay in a relationship until another one comes by that piques their interest more and know they can safely move from one to the next. Kind of like how I was talking about with my moving. I don't move to a city until I have a job lined up. I think some people just consciously don't move on until they have something else lined up.
Namadi, I love you because in one swell swoop, you answered. Well, you asked 3 of my questions that I got written there.
Oh, sorry.
No, I love it. I got like 20 questions, so that's good.
Okay.
Let's roll with it.
Yeah. Nimade, thank you for that. Thank you for that analogy because it's a great one. I feel like the distinction between where you're paralleling your moving as far as, you know, moving yourself and your livelihood and, you know, everything that is circumstantially surrounded you and the way that you thrive and the way that you exist, if you will, as opposed to a person who, whether consciously or unconsciously, decides to move from one relationship to another. It is that it's when you're moving, you know, you're in essence taking yourself from one system to another. So you're ingratiating yourself in a new neighborhood. You're ingratiating yourself with a new job. You're ingratiating yourself with a new set of friends, associates. I was about to do like this, but that's messed up because you actually, you know what I mean, you'll grow to have actual friends in the new place that you're moving to and whatnot. Whereas if you're just talking about one relationship to a next, I feel that whether consciously or unconsciously, monkey branching in that sense, it is something lacking. You know, it is. Because you could, let's say like this, you don't need, like, let's take the parallel of what monkey branching means. For a monkey to get from A to Z, you have to continue to be in motion. Otherwise, you'll just stay on the one branch and you'll just swing back and forth like a pendulum until inevitably you're just still on that one branch or on that one vine, you know? So it's a bit different because with that, wherever the destination is, that's why you're jumping from lily pad to lily pad, or that's why you're jumping from vine to vine. I feel that with, you know, with moving yourself, you're moving with the sense of, okay, there is not only a benefit, but something that is going to help me thrive in this area. So of course I have to establish myself here to make sure that those things happen so that when I jump from this branch to the next branch, it's not me face planning. You know, people can live alone without necessarily needing to be in a relationship of that magnitude in order for them to thrive. But there
Some
is a such
people.
thing,
Yeah,
some people, but there is a such thing as if you don't have a plan in order and you decide to just move on impulse, failure is exponentially higher. You don't have any plan whatsoever. You don't have anything in order. You're just it's like cats that, you know, go to California to be a movie star, but you have no plan in order. Like the streets of California, from what I hear, is littered with failed talents, littered with failed actors, littered with failed musicians that just wanted to go there because they hear it's the land of milk and opportunity. And look, milk and honey, you know that allergies and shit like that. But when they get over there, the competition is dense. If you don't know anybody or if you don't know anything, you're quick to get, you know, manipulated into some situation that, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day, you get the short end of the stick. So now you're fucked. So that's just the distinction for me. It's really nuanced, but that's just a distinction for me. For me, you know, monkey branching from relationship to relationship to me sounds a bit parasitic, as opposed to if you're just moving yourself from one situation to another and you're moving system to system. That's more calculative. That has a more resonance with a foundation and a means to be able to not only benefit yourself but to benefit the ecosystem that you're a part of as well.
Mm, I like that. I'm in the same boat with that because where I feel like monkey branching could be beneficial, like in a professional setting, like if you're doing it like career wise, like kind of how you doing the Marty, it's beneficial. Like that's important to understand and learn. Okay, you playing with toys. my nephew distracted me playing with his hot rodders. I feel like that could be beneficial. But the relationship aspect, that's dangerous because I do feel like if you're jumping from one person to one person, or even if you're holding on to one person until you find the next or looking for the next, like I feel like you necessarily aren't really sure of yourself or completely happy with yourself. You know, like you're always searching for that happiness or longing for something or feeling like you're missing something, you know, like, and in each relationship you're going to be in, it's going to be times where you feel like your partner can't provide everything for you because no one person can provide that for you. So if you're always on the lookout for something, like when are you really going to put the time in to really invest and fight for a relationship? Because every relationship has its inevitable ups and downs within it. You're going to have your times where things are the highs of highs and when they're in the lows of lows. But in the lows of lows, that's really when you figure out, like, do I really want to be with this person? You know, like those are times that really reveal to you, like, is this somebody I really want to build with, or do we really have something that's worth holding on to, as opposed to, you know, like this hardship came, we should just kind of just let things be and walk it out. So for me, monkey branching is like I'm like with Jeide, like I'm torn on it. Like it's not necessarily a bad or a good thing. It's more so how it's used and when it's used, you know, for me. But the relationship aspect, yeah, I don't like it at all. I do feel like it's devious, it's conniving, it's evil, but it's not evil. Like, cause like you really it's really just showing how selfish you are. But like how mad can you be at a person for being selfish? Like I gotta be at fault too, like as the recipient of the monkey branching, to be like, why didn't I pick up the signs? You know, like, because people do kind of reveal their character, and it's up to you to kind of catch on to what a person is giving you, the energies they're saying, you know, to read them not only for what they're saying, but how they're moving. Because more times than not, a person's actions going to display more so than their words, what they're feeling or how they feel about you. So, like, I kind of, like, I can hold blame to the person that's monkey branching, but I also got to hold some type of blame to the person that's being monkey branched, because, like, you didn't see no signs. So how vulnerable were you? You know, how gullible were you? How much were you seeking for a relationship of any sort? You know, that you would just be satisfied with anything. So, you know,
I feel like it's a catch-22 for me, because I do think that some people are calculated in their monkey branching, like they purposely wait until they find the next person. And then I also feel like there's a lot of people who just are constantly seeking something in someone, like kind of like you mentioned, instead of finding the wholeness in themselves, they're constantly looking for someone to fulfill something in them. And so when their current partner is no longer fulfilling it the way they want, they start seeking out other people, not even necessarily in like a purposeful way, but they start looking for that validation somewhere else, or seeking out that completion somewhere else. And those are the people who, like, you especially should have some time alone. Like, those people should be by themselves. And we all know those people. You just see them jump from relationship to relationship. But the truth is, if you're going right from relationship to relationship, like, where's your self-reflection time? Because even if the other person was awful, you still have some part in the whole scenario, whether it's the fact that you let them treat you awfully. Like, you still play some role in it. So if you don't take the time to self-reflect before you jump into the next relationship, you're more likely to just keep on repeating the same thing. So I'm very cautious of people who jump from relationship to relationship like that. They also tend to be the same people who, like, if you talk to them about their ex, it's like everything was their ex's fault and nothing is ever their fault. Like, huge red flag for me, because
me too.
that's not the case. So, you know, I mean, I get it. People need comfort and love, and it's sad. Especially sometimes, you know, like when you see it with the passing of someone and their significant other quickly moves on to someone else. That's hard for people around them, just to think that, because it almost makes it feel like your relationship didn't matter. Like, if you break up with someone and they quickly move on to somebody else, you're like, what the hell, you know? Or they break up with you and they quickly move on to someone else, because you feel like, oh, there's a song by one of the teeny boppers, Olivia something, and she's like, you didn't cheat, but you were a traitor. Like, it's kind of like that. It's like, you may not have cheated, but you were already emotionally attaching yourself to someone else, which is a form of cheating, by the way. So it's like, that still hurts. Yeah, that still hurts in the aftermath.
I think that's more painful, for real, because, like, you develop feelings, like all right, so I hate cheating overall, but I can get past you fucking somebody one time or one off, as opposed to you cultivating a whole rapport with this person, like text messages, phone calls, FaceTime, you plotting behind my back when you go and visit this person. Like, that's devious. Like, and then still laying next to me at the end of the night, like, that does
Yeah, I
something to a
can't.
person.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, like, I've experienced it, like but
Yeah,
it
I
changed
would
your
say that,
whole.
like, I could forgive like a one-time cheating, but I couldn't forgive an affair, because it's so calculated. Like, even a one-time cheating would be hard to forgive, but I could be like, all right, there were things involved, mistakes happen. It's still going to take a lot for me to forgive, but I could. But a cheating, I absolutely could not, because, like, you're going out of your way to be deceitful. You're purposely disregarding my feelings, disregarding any respect for me. Like, I can't. Because for me, especially with a relationship, for me, friendship is the core, right? And I would never do that to a friend. So whether you've fallen out of love with me and we're no longer a couple, like, I still would expect that level of respect. And once you do something like that, once you're able to cheat and go behind someone's back like that, you don't even have a friendship level of respect for them, and I can't deal with that.
All right, let me ask you both a question. Do you feel like a person's relationship with their friends is more important to determine how they're going to be successful in a romantic relationship with you? Because as you said, that jumped out to me, like how a person will always want to be friends first with their romantic. Oh, go ahead, Jeide.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeide, and then I'll answer.
I can't hear you, bro.
I can hear you.
I'm tripping. I had it on mute because I was moving some things around. So pardon me, y'all. I do want you to hold on to that question and ask it again because we do have a comment in the comment section by Princess on this. And I feel like it is relevant to this juncture of the conversation before we leave this juncture and go on to another intersection, if you will. Princess on this said, in order to monkey branch in a relationship, you have to keep your black book open, which means that you're not fully in that relationship, constantly searching for the next best quote unquote thing. And I, once again, thank you, Princess, on this. I wanted to bring that to the conversation because I feel like that is an important and an integral part of us defining what monkey branching is. Because, you know, to Nimade's point, when you're in a relationship, an ideal relationship, we would ideally want to be in a relationship with a friend or a best friend, you know? So the thought of hurting them will not even cross our minds because we will want to treat them the same way we treat ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So for whoever to be thinking already about the next person, because what is monkey branching? Once again, it's like you have to be thinking about the next branch before you get there. That's how you swing. You have to think about, okay, I'm in midair. I have 2.6 seconds for me to grab that branch, or I have 1.8 seconds to grab this one. Which branch is going to make the most sense for me to grab and not lose my footing or not lose my momentum and things of that nature? And if you're in that state of mind, then where's your presence? Where is you actually being mindful in where you are with the relationship you currently are? And then when you ask that, it also comes to the question of, well, what are you doing then? Is it genuine, the relationship that you're in? Is it genuine, the reasons in which you are in a relationship? You know, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Princess said if you're looking for another person while you're still in a relationship, you're basically cheating. I mean, on some level you are. You have that emotion, that's emotionally cheating. I do think sometimes there can be situations where you're going through something with your partner, and depending on your work environment, it's easy for those work spouses to slip on in there because you're spending time with them every day, you're having fun with them. Like, I've been a work spouse, I've had work spouses, and it is actually very easy to start to cross the line
I
between
can't do
like,
it.
oh, they're just.
I don't do the work days.
I can't do it. That's dangerous. That's dangerous.
You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it because it is. It's very easy to slowly start to cross the line between like, oh yeah, this is my coworker who makes me happy. Like, oh well, maybe they can make me happy all the time. And then if you add on problems at home, it's a problem. And you're not always. And that's why I don't trust my partners having work spouses. Like, I know because I've had guy friends, and if they talk to me about their women problems, like, I, for the most part, will be on the side of the woman and try to give it from their perspective. Like, I'll be your friend because you're my guy, and I'll be like, you know, I hear where you're coming from, but maybe here's her viewpoint. But not all women are like that. A lot of women will use that as an opportunity to wiggle their way between the two of you and be like, she's so wrong, she's so this, she's so that. So, like, I don't trust my guy friend, like my partner, having girlfriends, because I know not all girls are trustworthy like that.
But Nimade, to that point too, I have to even out the playing field. There are niggas that will do the exact same shit. They will niggas that prey on that. You know what I mean? There's niggas. There's cats at my job that have like this split personality. I guess this dissonance where it's like, okay, they have a woman, but when they're in the job and they see a shapely woman, like, yo, look at that ass. You know what I'm saying? Look at that ass. And they're looking for cosigns to that matter and shit like that.
Yep.
I know that there's hyenas on this side of the I know.
Yeah, it goes both ways. There's nothing like working to make you realize how many people cheat with work people, like just cheating all the time. And I worked in corporate and I'm no longer shocked by it. That's how much it happens. And I'm just like, oh, I'm not surprised. But to a point I was making earlier too about the whole affair thing and emotional versus physical, part of it I think is because and I know, okay, let me back up. So part of your question was like, does a person's friendship like imply how they would be in a relationship? On some level, I do think that that's a yes, and on another level, I think it's no. Only because, like, I have solid friendships. Like, I have friends from when I was, like, 5. I have friends from middle school and high school. I have friends from my job. And you know how people are like, oh, we're coworkers, we're not going to say friends. Like, not me. Once I put you in friend category, you're stuck with me for life. And I tell people that all the time. Are you raising your hand?
Yes, because I want, that was my next question. Like, how close of a friend are you to these people? Because it's a way to be friends with a person, but we're not really connecting, but we're
Oh, yeah.
friends when
No,
we're
in my
around each other.
mind, I mean, I'll throw out the word friend, but I definitely know who are like my friends and who are my friendly acquaintances. Like, we kiki, we can chit chat here or there, but they're not like my core friends. And I know like my core friends, and those are the ones who have been with me like through the years. But I don't know that that's necessarily reflective of relationships, because I am a scaredy cat in relationships. I'm currently dealing with this with myself, right? I started reading the book Attachment. I'm talking to my therapist about it, because like I used to be proud of the fact that like I've never been dumped. But I realize it's because I'm always the one running away. Like, that's why it's not necessarily a good thing. And so if you try to like compare me in a relationship with me with my friendships, on some levels they are the same, right? Because I would like to ideally find a partner who's a friend, because I know how I am with my friendships, and I know like the friendships that I get into and my relationships with those friends, and I would love to find that in like a romantic partner. It's just very hard, unfortunately. So it makes it difficult, because then you get into like just relationships, and I've seen both. I can tell when I'm hanging out with a couple where they're just a couple and where they're like a solid, like where they're friends. You can tell when they like each other's company,
Mm-hmm.
How do you
and like I was
identify
thinking
that?
about I was what?
Identify that.
I can just tell, like, when you can tell when two people just like vibe with each other and they like talking to each other, and like, I don't know, you can just tell when people click. It's like the way you can tell when people who aren't a couple, you're like, oh, those two are vibing,
Yeah,
like they're clicking. It's
facts.
like when you see a couple who's been married 10 years and you still get that vibe from
Yeah,
them. You
Okay.
still get like, oh, they click.
it's not hard
And
to
so like,
tell.
yeah, you can tell. And so like, that's sort of what I'm holding out for. And I think that a lot of people get, and there's nothing wrong with settling on some level, right? Because people have different goals and aspirations, and
I disagree.
sometimes you have to make sacrifices for other things. And I kind of get that. I'm blessed with the fact that like I don't want kids, so I don't feel any time crunch to find what I want, and I'm solid by myself. Like I have a good, happy, solid life by myself, so that like I'm not going to add anything to that that's going to add to my stress and not make me happier. You know, I was thinking the other day about that quote. Happy wife, happy life. You know that quote?
I hate that quote.
Well, here's the thing. I was thinking about it because I feel like a lot of people use it in the sense of like, oh, if I just give my wife whatever she wants, she'll leave me alone and I can have a happy life. But I feel like if you're really doing it right, it should be that making her happy makes you happy. And that's where your happy life comes from. Like, and it should be vice versa. We talk about it from the guys, but like I genuinely get happy making my partner happy. Like that brings me joy, knowing he's happy, doing good things. Like as much as I'm like independent woman, I'm not gonna submit. Like I know, like when I'm actually in a relationship, I'm like, what can I get you, dear? Because like that's just how I naturally am. Because I want to make my partner happy, but I don't want to be with someone who expects that from me. I want someone who appreciates that, because they're not one of those guys who thinks a girl should have to do all that stuff. So I really do feel like if people were coming from the place of making their partner happy and finding joy from making them happy, that would be a whole nother thing. I think that makes for a better relationship.
I want to
Okay,
add
good.
to that. I want to
Yeah.
add to that, Imade, and I'm thankful that you brought, because you said this on several occasions over PVM programs, over your own programs. As far as the qualities that you bring into a relationship when you are invested and when you feel you are being respected and honored as the woman that you are.
Hmm.
So once again, one of the reasons why I actually agree with this phrase, I feel like people get tripped up off the actual like the gender identifiers as far
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
like happy wife instead of happy person.
Right.
Like the gender identifiers might be the trigger or whatnot. But once again, if a relationship is supposed to be symbiotic, if it's supposed to be synergetic, it makes sense that I want to make my wife happy,
Right.
because if I make my wife happy and she has these qualities and she's happy, of course she's going to invest in me with these qualities, because that's how she expresses her love. Oh, she's happy. Like a truly happy person, I forgot who said this, but somebody said this to a degree in which, like, when you're truly happy, when when you're, let's put it in the world, in the realm of richness, or in the realm of wealthiness or whatnot, because I think it might have been the Joe Budden podcast actually. And I know Trigger warning or whatnot, but this has nothing to do with Joe Budden, as opposed to actually the
He's
conversation that
not
they
I
had.
rock
always
with Joe.
wrong. He's not always wrong.
Always
No, he's
wrong.
not.
He's just
He's
an
right more
asshole.
than
It is
wrong.
what it is. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
I love Budden, but he's an asshole. But it is what it
Yeah.
is. So he had a conversation with somebody. I think it was with Nori, if I'm not mistaken, and they were talking about how when you're broke, a lot of things can really like stress you out. You're really pissed off with a lot of things. But when you're wealthy, or when you have money, even when you have certain problems, like the same things don't afflict you like that, because you have money. It's easier for you to give when you have money. It makes more sense. So in the same sense of being like a healthy, happy wife in an equation that you're supposed to be one with another person, if that person is depriving you, that you're with, if that person is depriving you from being your best, then why would you continue to empty your cup into the person that is making you feel less than? It makes sense for you to give to a person that's giving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or someone that takes you for granted, because, sorry, Dash, just one more thing really quick, because I was going to say or also someone that takes you for granted, because, and this is why I have a big issue, speaking of things I say frequently, with the whole nice guy trope. Like, any guy who refers to themselves as a nice guy is usually like the most problematic guy, because that guy thinks that doing normal human decency things to a woman and treating her like a decent person is him being nice, and he should be rewarded for that. So when a woman turns him down, they're like, see, they don't like the nice guys. Usually decent, nice guys will just say like, nah, I'm just a dude. Like, they don't go around like, I'm the nice guy and women don't want me because I'm a nice guy. Those guys are the first ones to run away from, because those guys think that it's so special to do just normal human decency stuff. And so when you get into a relationship, those are also the people who are taking for granted the little things that you do. And that's also why a lot of relationships crumble, is because people just take for granted, like, oh, well, you should be doing your share of the chores. Like, duh. Well, yes, they should, but it's not a problem to say thank you. Like, okay, yeah, maybe he should take out the garbage, but does it kill you to tell him thank you for taking out the garbage? Like, would it kill him to tell you thank you for washing the dishes, or whatever you guys do in your roles? I think that it's important to not take the person for granted, and a lot of people do, and then that in turn makes the people in the relationship want to stop doing and contributing and feeling valued. And that's when you get to that monkey branching, because now I don't feel valued in my relationship anymore, but I have this other person who's giving me compliments or telling me I'm great, and now my heart is swinging that way.
Now you just kind of shift. See, I agree with you, and then I disagree with you, because I feel like the monkey branching is there regardless. I think like you just may give them like maybe an appropriate reason to monkey branch, but they were going to do it regardless. Like,
Do you think some people
I think
are
like,
just monkey branchers?
yeah, I feel like if you monkey branching, like that's just your personality. That's just something like that's within you that you got to personally deal with. I don't think you're going to come across a person that's going to, or a partner that's going to shift your mindset to convince you not to. I think you're going to have to personally sit with yourself and do that work, like to change that about you, because I feel like it's something in you that's driving you to not be satisfied with a person, no matter what they do. Like they could be Jesus Christ, but it's going to be something they do that's going to get you to the point where at some point you're going to be like, I could probably find better. Like, and you might have reasons to be like, you know what, I might drag this out a little longer, but eventually you're going to monkey branch. You're going to continue to move to the next tree, to the next tree. That's why, like when you said something about settling earlier, like that kind of triggered me, because I was like, with romance, I don't feel like you should ever settle. Like, I feel like if that's even your mindset of like, yo, I'm about to just settle with this person, you're already sabotaging your relationship before it even have a real chance to flourish, because in the back of your mind, you're already saying this person isn't really good enough or qualified to be with me. So,
but don't you think that some people want certain things? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off like that, but I was going to say, don't you think like certain people want certain things? Like, I'm a hopeless romantic, so I expect and will be holding out for spooning and all of that good stuff.
Okay.
But like some people are like, I want to live like a good life. Like I want to go to work, come home, have my kids, love my kids, see family on the weekends, and just be content. And so like maybe the person they're with isn't making them swoon and isn't, you know, doing all the things, but they're going to make a great dad, and they're going to have, and they want the same things I want out of life. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you are going to it with your eyes wide open and you know you're doing that.
But is that substantial long term? Because like if the idea is this person is going to be a great dad and y'all can just raise these kids, I mean the kid's going to get old enough to move out eventually. So what happens when that occurs? Like is the relationship over? Do we have to make more babies to make this relationship last?
Maybe they fall in love later, or maybe like not everybody wants like that love. Like I want like love, and then I also want like someone who wants to get it on all the time, and like not everybody is like that. Some people are asexual, they don't want to hook up all the time, and some people don't want to be madly in love, they just want to be like happy. And so I think it's really important to like remember that like we all want different things. So I try, like that could never be me, like that life of settling, I couldn't do it. But I do acknowledge that there are probably some people who could happily do it.
No, I think there's a large number of people, male and female, that settle within their relationships because of those same reasons, like kids, finances, whatever the case may be. You know, like sometimes it's just better to be with the devil you know than to, you know, be adventurous and try to hope that you find somebody that's going to match up to everything that you're looking for. But I also feel like that's where the excitement of love comes in. Because, like, I don't want to be bored in love. Like, I don't want to feel like my needs are just being met. Like, I want to see expectations. I don't want to feel like I'm settling. Like, if I feel like I'm settling with my partner, like, I'm not in the right relationship. And that's just for me personally. Like, I need
I
feel
agree.
like
I agree.
overabundance.
I think you're on the hopeless romantic train with me, though. I think we're like on the hopeless romantic train.
I'm a hopeless romantic, you know. I definitely am, but at the same time, I'm realistic with my expectations now. You know, like I'm not diving in on this. Oh, we're going to be like a Disney story. We're going to have this once upon a time. And it's just going to be fairy tales and shit. Like I'm expecting the storms to come. Like, and before we get to that point, I'm just making sure like you're going to be able to walk through the storm with me. Like I'm gonna tell you my favorite song, If You Could Stand the Rain, with New Edition.
Hopeless romantic.
Yeah, that's my shit. But like I love the message in the song, like if you could stand the rain, like can you really rock out with the storm? Like, and for me, it's just more so seeing like what are your flaws? What's the shit that I'm not gonna like about you? You know, like and if I can deal with that, then I'm more likely gonna stick it out with you as opposed to being enamored with all the things that's, you know, bubbly and good about you, quote unquote.
I have a question though, based on what you just said. So obviously all relationships aren't perfect. They all have issues. Like when for you is it okay to start having problems and not have it be a major red flag? So like what I mean by that is like I've had relationships in the past where like from the beginning we kind of were like having a little bit of like issues, what we today would call red flags. But I was like, it's okay because we're going to hammer this stuff out in the beginning and then we'll be smooth sailing afterwards. Spoiler alert, it did not work that way. It just got worse. And that's when I really learned that the honeymoon period is a real thing. Like if you are not in your honeymoon phase during the honeymoon period, it's not going to get better. Sometimes, very, very, very rarely, most of the time it's not going to get better. So like for you, where or when can the problems begin where you're like, okay, this is like, we will deal with this, and when do they start where you're like, nah, this is too soon, we got to cut it?
It's not even, well, you know what, I'm lying, because it is when to an extent, but it's more so how often the problems are arising. Like if, like we getting to know each other, so I expect it to be some type of discomfort to a certain ability. Like I expect us not to agree on everything, us to have some discourse. I'm naturally an argumentative soul, so I'm more than likely going to have an argument with you just off the strength. Sometimes I'll start an argument just to see how you're going to react in an argument.
Oh, Lord.
I like to know what type of crazy I'm dealing with. Like we all crazy to a certain extent, but if I have an idea, I have an idea of what to expect, you know, where I can push you, where not to push you. You know, I'm learning the person, so you gotta know who you're dealing with, you know. But for me, it's going to be how often the arguments are and what they are about. Like if it's little shit, but it's like little shit that we just keep on having natural arguments about, that's going to be alarming to me because it's going to be like, well, why can't we get past this little stuff? If there's big stuff that's coming up already in the honeymoon phase, well, that's screaming red flag. So, like, you know, y'all take it away from there. That's where I'm at with it. Like, it's how often.
Makes sense. Jeide?
You know what? I feel like we're playing a bit of a dangerous game here. And I only say that because, you know, I feel like, once again, this is me, I feel like relationships are similar to fingerprints. You know, each relationship has its own design, has its own signature that you have to be mindful of, that you have to be present with, because we're talking about individuals. You know, we're not talking about a system that you could just slap on two people who are completely different. Or even if they're similar, you're still different. Y'all came from different wombs. You know what I mean? Y'all came from different upbringings, different blood types, different everything. You know what I mean? You can't just slap a system on just two random people and be like, okay, this is going to work if these criteria are checked, because that's standardizing. You know what I mean? And you could pass a standardized test, but will you have street knowledge? Or you can pass a standardized test, but what about your emotional intelligence? Or you can pass a standardized test, but how about your intuition? Things of that nature. You know, there's different geniuses, there's different intelligences at work. So I feel like, once again, it's a dangerous business asking when certain red flags to show up, and, you know, whether that'll be meaningful or even understanding or even show itself towards whether that relationship will be good or not good. Because, you know, what if, for example, what if somebody just came out of, not just came, but let's say a certain person had certain systems around them, and they want to cleanse themselves, they want to purge themselves, so all these systems, and you happen to catch that person on the right time when they were doing a self-healing. Now, there's still systems attached. And by systems, I mean, they could be hoes, they could be groupies, they could be past relationships, they could be exes, whatever. There's systems that are still attached. But this person is in a certain point of healing. So now you're rocking with them, and they rocking with you, but these systems are still lingering. And as you meet these systems, they're being rectified as you meet the problems that associate themselves with the systems. So now it's basically based upon your tenacity. You know, like, how far are you willing to go until you see that these systems have been cut off, or the person takes the initiative in cutting off these systems because they see how much it affects you. That requires a certain level of a threshold for you to get to before that shit clicks in your head, like, oh shit, I'm hurting the person that I love. I need to do something about this. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or, and I feel like this is the more popular one, you get the innocent one. Everything's all cool. Once again, to the benefit of what you're saying, Jeide, the honeymoon phase. You know, everything is cool, everything is beautiful, everything is gorgeous. And then all of a sudden, out the woodwork, a year or two later, comes some system that was just hiding out of nowhere that this person wasn't able to shake, but didn't say anything to you about it. Now what? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It really depends on the situation. It really depends on yourself. Let me put it that way. That's what I'm gonna say. It depends on yourself. What are your tolerances? What are your, you know what I'm saying? What do you know this shit?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a valid point. It definitely depends on you, because, like, and I would say this, like, it's impossible getting to know me because, like, I'm very busy. I'm extremely lazy. I don't have time until I want to have time. So, like, when people try to meet me, I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, like, I'll try to make time for you. But usually I don't. But the problem is, but then when I like them, I have the time. Like, but it's like, who can hang on during that period of time where I'm barely making time for you because I'm not that interested. And then when I get into the period of time where I'm interested, now I have the time, because it really doesn't take that long to communicate if you really want to. The problem is that usually trying to find the person who wants to hang in during the period period of time where you seem disinterested until you get to the period of time where you seem interested. Now you're on them like white on rice. Like I go from not interested to say 5 clinger. It's like finding the person who is cool with both of those is hard sometimes, because most people will be like, oh, well, if she's not interested, then I'm not putting in the effort. But my problem is, like, the minute you stop putting in the effort, I become instantly uninterested. Like, and it's not that I'm purposely trying to make you chase me. It's just that, like, I don't chase. For real, don't chase. So, like, if I don't feel like you're interested in me, I'm just, okay, bye.
Dude,
So it's hard. It's hard.
Go ahead, Dad. No, I'm not even doing it. I'm just listening.
At least I acknowledge that I am difficult.
No, that's not
I
even
acknowledge.
a problem.
I'm working on it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. The fact that you admit that, it's beautiful. The only thing I was about to say, and this is going to be controversial, but I was about to say this is why men lead, because in instances in which you're not meant to match somebody's energy, you're meant to be still and be like, okay, listen, I love you. This is one of your moments. You're going to say what you're going to say. You're going to do what you're going to do. Guess what? I still love you. That's leadership. That's going to do something to a woman. That's going to be like, oh, shit, this person loves me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you hurt me and then I go off and salve myself because you hurt me. And then I come back and I say, but you hurt me.
Well, we've had talks about this. We've had talks about this before. It's like, it's not even so much like the leadership submissive thing that's a problem. It's people's interpretation of it and the way men misinterpret what being a leader means. And we all know it because men and women misinterpret what being a boss means in the office. So of course they do it in relationships.
See, that's true. That's true. I can't debate none of that, but I think a large portion of that is because we don't have no real leadership infrastructure. Like, it's nobody really guiding men or women, you know, for that instance, on how to be a man, how to be a woman, you know, like you got few examples, if any, you know, out there that like really show you like what's a man as opposed to a boy. Like more times than instance, you learn it off trial and error, like, and dealing within that relationship. Or like for me, for instance, a lot of the shit I know about relationships, I learned through trial and error just by, you know, being in a relationship. I learned how to please a woman. I learned what was acceptable, what wasn't acceptable in and out of a relationship when I was going too far. You know, it was a
But
time
Dash, can I ask you something? Once you decided that you wanted to tap into bettering yourselves in relationships and in things like that, didn't you find the material was out there once you started looking for it? Like podcasts, books, the topics out there and being written on, so there's examples out there. I feel like most people just aren't tapping into searching for it.
It's examples out there, but who you know to really trust? Like for me, like when I wanted better examples, I didn't really necessarily find better examples off the top. Like my first examples, you know, like, all right, so like when I was really trying to be like a better version of me, I was like watching relationship podcasts. It was this one guy, Steph Speaks, I think that was his name, where he was like going in on women repeatedly. And I knew, okay, I don't want to take this ideology, like, but he was like one of the main examples of what you should do. So like, no, like it is good examples, but then there's bad examples. Like, and I feel like if you don't have like an idea of what a good example is in your life, you run a chance of following bad examples until you find someone that can help kind of teach you, guide you, kind of mold you in the instance of what you should and shouldn't do. Like for me, it wasn't until I started dating cougars where I really started having an idea of what women wanted. And it was real shit. Like, and it was this one woman who like, she really like, I really fucked with her, but she really taught me a lot about women, like in general, like and how to date, how to court, you know, what to say, you know, like it was a lot of shit I would just say just off, like, just because that's how I was raised or just, that was just the way I talked or whatever. And she was like, no, baby, like if you want to express yourself, this is how you go about it. And you know, like if I really hadn't gotten that, I probably wouldn't be as versed or as good as I am now with the women. But you know, like that's just an instance of like how like I needed good leadership. Like
I agree that there's like not a good universal leadership, but I also think back to what Jeide said, relationships are like fingerprints, like everybody. And like the thing is, everybody's like that. I feel like I wish more people would embrace the fact that we are all unique individuals. What works for you might not work for someone else. What works for someone else might not work for you. And I feel like I get so frustrated with these podcasts because they try to be like this definitive voice of all men, and all women want
Yeah, I
this and
hate
all
that.
men want this, and it's like, it's not true. Some people want the exact opposite of what you're saying. So
Mm-hmm.
like, be a voice for yourself. I can tell you, and like that's why I like watching you guys. Like, you're good about saying like, this is me, this is my opinion, this is what I think, because then it becomes on the person to find someone whose value matches theirs. So you looked at that guy and you're like, you're sprouting nonsense, I'm not following this. And you went and you found someone who does sprout the stuff that you want to follow. But unfortunately, there are men and women who are going to listen to him, think he's speaking the truth, and follow him. And more power to them. I don't even care that they think that. What I care is when they try to force me to think that way. Like, you can think however you want. I will always stand up for everybody thinking however they want. Just don't try to force other people to think the same way. Like, everybody thinks differently, and what works for everybody is different. And a lot of people make themselves really unhappy by trying to create a relationship that looks good to other people, by creating a relationship that has what everybody else has and what everybody else is working, and that might not be what works for you. And who cares what people think about what's worked for you? Figure it out. It's between you and your partner or partners. Figure out what works for you and go with that, and screw everyone else and their opinions.
I know. Everybody chasing that Instagram couples goal, you know, like, shit, I hate couples goals.
Yeah.
I think that's probably like the worst thing that ever happened to romance ever. Like, people be idealizing couples so much, like, you don't even know the dust that they're going through or what they're going through and why they're going through what they're going through, you know, like, and that in itself is just frustrating, because it's just like, you know, you can see people, they look together, but do you really know the ins and outs of their relationship? Are they really happy with each other, or is this just for the cameras? And with that, we just lost Namadi.
Oh, Namadi, they got you. They got me a couple times, Namadi. Don't even worry about it. We gonna get revenge.
It's all good because we at that hour mark anyway, so they just trying to close us out on time. So, you know, let's wrap up the episode anyway. I think we kind of flushed out today's topic for a good portion, you know. You have any lasting words regarding tonight's topic?
Oh man. Hey, words in your mind, yo, find out what works for you. It's just that simple. It's really that simple. You know what I'm saying? Like, people going, one person's trash is another person's treasure. People gonna look at one person dropping jewels and be like, that dude sprouting nonsense. Same person dropping jewels to somebody else is gonna be like, I never thought of that. That's the best piece of advice I ever got. So figure out what works for you, yo. Run with it. And make sure that you in the relationships that you're in for the right reason. Because it's not all about self. You got to understand your value and what you can do for the next person and how you can help the other person too. It's not about how somebody makes you feel.
I like that. Namari, how about you? Any lasting words for tonight's episode?
No. Yeah, I guess just what I said before, which is figure out what works for you and don't care about other people's opinions, and figure out your own path to happiness. But don't lead people on. Since we started this topic about monkey hanging, like, don't lead people on. If you know something isn't working, get a break, figure out yourself before moving on to the next person.
You know what? Before we exit, I do want that question, because I do got that. I'm glad you said that. What is taking a break to y'all?
Well, are you asking about taking a break individually or taking a break within a relationship?
Within a relationship.
Well, I think
to really take a break, you know, in a relationship.
It really depends. I've only ever wanted to take a break once, because I'm one of those people, like, when we break up, we're done. Like, I don't swing back through. You know what I mean? Like, when we're done, we're done. So there was a partner that I had. We had been together for years, and, like, it wasn't working, but I really felt like if we had some space, mostly because I felt like he was very much underappreciating me and not getting his shit together. And I was like, I feel like if we had some space, you could see that, and then we could try to make things work again. He wasn't into taking a break, so we didn't take one. We ended up breaking up later. But, like, for me, within a relationship, taking a break is just, back to what I said, it depends on the couple, right? It might be we live together, we live apart for a while, or we just don't see each other for a little while. Sometimes you just need some space and clarity.
Does that ever work, giving your partner space? Like, does that really...
Be right back.
Be right back. hold off on the answer. Actually, Jeide, why have you here? How you feel about that? Do you feel like that's ever possible? Giving your partner space and it being beneficial to a relationship?
Man, we didn't have this conversation all on PVM before. I'm gonna say it in the illest way possible. I don't believe in breaks because if we gonna take a break, I mean, first of all, if you're in a real relationship, ain't no such thing as a break. That's just me. But if we're gonna take breaks, what is PVM? PVM is a system that involves itself with every Sunday broadcast or whatnot. So if I take a break now, y'all gonna see me next Sunday, and it looks like this. Peace.
Oh shit, guys! Thank y'all for tuning in to a new episode. Ooh, before we leave, tune into a new episode.
Wait, were you saying
PVM.
you don't think breaks are okay?
Oh no, I actually am team anti-break. Historically speaking, well, I've only been positioned to break in 2 past relationships, and both times I took that as okay. I'm back on these streets. I'm back on the prowl, doing my thing. And both times I was hit with we technically were still together, but for me, if we taking a break, we broken up. Like,
That's part of the problem is that you men like to do it like that. No, not you men, because some women are like that.
I was about to say.
Because sometimes break doesn't. I mean, I'm at the age now where I don't do breaks in relationships. Like, we're grown. But when I was younger, I can see how, especially like when you're like in college and you're just starting out life, like you're shifting through a lot of stuff. And sometimes adding a partner or a spouse while you're trying to deal with all of that can be a lot. But like, you don't necessarily want to end things because you're figuring stuff out. I mean, it's hard because now that I'm older, I'm like, if you can't figure it out with that person, why are you with that person? So I don't know.
Just like, you busier when you're older. Like, I got more shit going on now than I did in my 20s. So
yeah,
if I'm going to take a break, I'm going to take a break now from the relationships, like, than I would back then. Like, back then
hopefully now, though, you would find a partner who is, like, understanding of that, right? So, like,
maybe.
And I guess that's what you should be looking for when you're younger, too, but you don't. But I would think when you're older, you got to find someone who can, like, handle your level of busy and deal with that. You got to be super clear and accountable. Usually the break wouldn't be required if those things. Yeah, that's the thing was thanks, Tiffany. Like when you're older, it is also like whatever is causing this break, is it really even worth taking a break or should we just break up? Like what are we really trying to hold on to here?
And that's a key question I always ask. That's why I be asking about most relationships. Like, is this relationship beneficial? Or is it, we just wasting time together?
I say just have pros and area codes. That's my final word.
Pros and area codes?
Just stay busy, do your thing, live your life, and just have hoes in different area codes.
Hey, shout out to Ludacris. Hey, I got hoes. Got hoes. And this has been Positive Vibes, baby.
Bye, guys.
The talk show. Namadi, thank you for joining us.
Oh, Dash, don't forget to tell them where they can see us on Friday.
Oh, yeah. Well, you do it for me. You let them know.
So I have a show called In Case You Missed It, where we recap fun events that have happened, events, pop culture, whatever, throughout the month. It's on the last day of each month. Dash has joined the team with us, so it's Lauren, Dash, and I. We have our first show with the 3 of us this Friday, the last day of the month, at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So join us. Let us know also if you think there's anything we should definitely talk about that happened this month. But some crazy things have gone down, so I'm looking forward to chatting.
Yeah, I know, right? This month was good. Like,
yeah.
I was going back over everything that happened. Like, I was just like, oh shit, this month was popping. Like,
yeah.
And I got some things to get off my chest about Creed 3. Like, but
yeah, and it's still popping because who knows what else? I mean, the Jonathan Majors thing just came out, so who knows what else is going to come out this week before we get to Friday. So join us on Friday. We have a lot to talk about.
I'm not ready to convict him yet. Like Jonathan Majors, he's still innocent to proven guilty in my eyes. I gotta see how that play out. But Namadi, thank you for joining us tonight. Sure. Guys, thank you for the comments. Thank y'all for tuning in. This has been Positive Vibes, maybe PVM the Talk Show. We'll see. Well, no, we won't see you next Sunday, but we will see you the following Sunday after that. Just taking a hiatus for a week.
You guys don't do Wednesdays anymore?
No, not for a minute. At the Jeide had the baby, I kind of cut it down to just the one day. You know,
Makes sense.
I tell you off scenes, you know, like all the
Word.
yeah. I'm
All right, bye guys.
Bye.